We love to inspire and reward
billions of business souls
to gamify their life,
to share products and services
they care deeply about,
so they experience the magical power
of referral marketing.
Hey everyone, welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of NaXum's Core Values, Crystal Clear Communication. Actually, Crystal Clear Candid Communication. What is candid communication? That's one of the topics we're going to be talking about, as well as what are the hidden costs when you're not candid and where do you start? So Ben, I'd love for you to jump in on this topic. It's an important topic, so please take it away.
So as we jump into the podcast today, Tammy, Crystal-Clear-Candid Communication came out of a series of conversations we had about how best to both interact with our team members and people that are clients in our world. So all stakeholders, from the people we interact with as staff and as clients. And if you think about it, there's literally no neutral exchange in the world. We talk about this all the time, but anyone you ever interact with either feels better about your interaction or worse. And so whether you're connecting with someone here, like together, we're here today on the podcast, whether you're meeting with someone for a meal or a phone call with a client, there's no such thing as a neutral exchange. So what is candid communication? Well, it's saying what needs to be said. So many times people put on filters their whole time of trying to avoid anything that they could see as a challenge, or they think about more of what they look like than what this other person needs to hear. And many times we rob somebody of feedback that they can either make decisions about or improve on when we're just thinking about ourselves instead of the other person. So I actually think candid communication is love. It's when you're not thinking about yourself. It's that when you're loving on the client or the team member enough to actually give them the raw, real feedback that they can then take action on, whether it's a decision they need to make or a behavior they need to change. That's candid feedback. So what's the hidden cost of not being candid? Well, I actually like to bring this to the word injustice. Okay, let's all think back to when we were in high school and had our first job, right? Whether you worked at a restaurant or you mowed lawns or you babysat kids, we can all imagine, right, that experience of maybe that other frontline worker who was not pulling their weight, but the manager wasn't a good manager. I can think about this in my own mind, where they never gave them candid feedback. They just kind of let them kind of slog along, not pulling their weight, until the day that low-level manager said, hey, Johnny has got to go. He's not pulling his weight. And Johnny is astounded. He's frustrated because the manager never gave Johnny any feedback where he could course correct or take action on it during the relationship. The manager was not candid with Johnny. And we all see that as injustice, right? Like, man, that was not a way to be a good manager. And so we take that example and say, okay, I don't want to be like that manager. I want to be someone who, whether I'm interacting with a client or a team member or a staff member, that I'm giving people actionable feedback so that they can go adjust course in the work that they're doing. And so where do you start? Well, you start by thinking about each of the people you're going to interact with in the next day and asking, what's the one thing I should share today that will allow them to make a decision, right, in their world, where I'm not thinking about myself in the situation, but what does that person need to hear so that they can step into what's next for them? And then you do it. You have to be brave enough to give that feedback and do it in a tactful way. Of course, this doesn't, candid communication isn't permission to be a jerk or permission to be that. It's loving someone enough to give them the real feedback that's actionable. Tammy, I know it's a big part about how you operate. You're all about people's mental health. I've covered it from a manager's perspective down, and you have a great perspective for people who are even employees speaking upline to people that they report to. Go ahead and share what you've seen over the years.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. I struggled with that clear communication to my superiors for a very long time in corp. And the reason being is because you're always wanting to do this great job. You don't want to let people down. You take on more than you can actually handle. But where I failed was because I wasn't honest about how it was affecting me emotionally in my personal life, with my bandwidth. I was trying to take on more than I could handle. And it was weighing in on. And when you're not clear about that, when you don't share those types of hurdles, it affects your mental health. It affects your well-being. And that does spill over into so many different departments of your life, not just your work, but your personal. So now at this stage in my life, I've learned, and that's what I try to share with people that I'm working with on a team. Never be afraid to talk to your leaders and say, hey, listen, this is way too much. I can do this, this, and this, but this is going to have to wait, or I'm going to have to share the work. It's not because you're not good enough or you're not working hard enough. That's a perception that maybe somebody else is having about you, but that doesn't mean it's accurate and certainly doesn't mean it's fair. So I always try to stress, always be honest with yourself so you can be honest with other people. Know your mental health, know your mental well-being, know where you are in your self-care, know where you are as a person so that you can have clear and candid communication. And even when you're working with your clients, it's really important. If there's something that needs to happen, if the scope changes and maybe you have to integrate another API or you're doing something bigger in the project, be clear about the milestones that are going to change. Be clear about any costs that are going to change. Be clear about the expectations and the outcomes. Because when you have those conversations and when you're clear, your client is going to appreciate it. Everyone on the team is going to be able to work and be in their seat in a way that makes them feel good. They're not taking on more stress with this, expectation that can't be met. Because when you don't meet expectations and you're doing your best to do it, what's going to happen? Again, you're going to feel like you're failing. Your self-worth is going to go down. You're going to have that lack of confidence. Your mental well-being is not going to be in a good state. And guess what? You're not serving yourself or the people around you. You cannot pour from a cup that's empty. So clear, candid communication is vital in every aspect of your life, not just work. So I'm all about that, Ben. And I think from that perspective, just the hidden cost is your well-being, right? That bullet point. What's the hidden cost? Well, it is your mental health, it's your well-being. So where do you start? You start with just being honest every step of the way, sharing and being transparent in everything you do in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I love that you picked on one of a point that we actually use inside of a tool at NaXum. There's a book by Gino Wickman called Traction, and he talks about each seat in your company and can the person in the seat GWC. So do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to do it? So when we're having candid conversations with employees, and these can be used in all kinds of facets of life, we're actually trying to figure out, does this person get it? Like, do they understand what the role is and what the end result should be? Do they want it? Do they have a desire to be here? Do they have a desire to fulfill these things? And then C, capacity to do it. Do they have the capacity to do what this role requires? Now, to your point, in human interactions with team members, sometimes if there's no feedback on capacity is full, right? It can look like an A player's not doing well if we're doubling down all the capacity over there, and then we're only at half a capacity for someone else, and they look like they're amazing even though they're not. So there's the capacity question is something that a lot of people miss, and I love that you brought it up. And so if anyone's looking for a tool that helps with team members, Gino Wickman's GWC is an amazing tool that you can use. Well, gang, clear, candid communication does pay off in big ways. If you have a story of how how you chose to be brave and be candid and clear with somebody in your life, and it made all the difference in the world, you have a win you'd like to share, comment below, whether you're listening on Spotify or Anchor FM, or you're on our YouTube channel, wherever you are watching the podcast today. Go ahead and comment a win in your life of how candid communication made all the difference in your world. And for more on NaXum, if you're in the referral marketing space and you're looking to grow your direct selling company and platforms that allow teams to get the data so they can clearly and candidly communicate with each other about what they need to do to grow their business, definitely check out www.naxumtour, NaXumtour, naxumtour.com to book a time to meet with Tammy or myself. Thank you for checking out this episode of the NaXum podcast. Have an amazing day, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Take care.